Chapter 4, Stalled Out. We refuse to believe that which we do not understand. We foolishly believe that our own limitations are the proper measure of limitations. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, page 27. Back when I used to hold opportunity meetings for my associates to expose a business program to interested prospects, I would always stay after the presentation to meet those who showed interest and answer their questions. At just such a presentation, I met my first mentor, Mr. Gould. So naturally, that's how I learned to conduct my business. It takes a while for most associates to get the hang of sorting those people who have a genuine interest from those who are merely curious or have other agendas. So, as you can imagine, I encountered a mixture audience at every presentation. Initial questions. You might be surprised to discover that vast majority of people said they were interested, raised the same handful of initial concerns. Some were typically raised in the form of a question. How long will it take me to be successful? How much time will this require each week? How much will this cost before I can make a profit? Will I have to give these presentations? What else would I have to do to make money at this? Who sells the product? Other concerns were expressed as statements that could be seen as objections. I am not good at sales. I don't know anybody that would be good at this. I could never do what you do. The people I know would never be interested in this. Here's the amazing thing about these responses to an opportunity presentation. The interested and the curious raise the same questions and concerns. Both usually start out with powerful preconceptions and misunderstandings that can take considerable time to address. Of much greater importance is this: a person who truly desires to find an opportunity to change their life and financial future, and a person who is curious but lacks a real interest in finding a viable business opportunity, ask questions for dramatically different purposes. The concerns expressed by the genuinely interested prospect fall under one fundamental question that he or she needs answered. Could this opportunity work for me? But the one who is curious but not genuinely interested typically needs to find a justification for saying, I'm not interested. So they raise the question and concerns as a way to explain why this opportunity won't work for them. Of course, this unproductive conversation could have been avoided if we could have determined they were not interested in pursuing any sort of business opportunity. The challenge is to enable a genuinely interested prospect to get past preconceived misunderstandings of what a particular business program involves and to help them to see it as an opportunity to fulfill on their dreams and desires. Answering their question occurs for them as an educational process. But to someone who is not truly interested, responding to their concerns feels dramatically different. To that person, it seems pushy and manipulative. It feels like sales in the adjectival sense. This is why it's so important to learn to sort the truly interested from the merely curious. Efficient sorting saves all parties from awkward, uncomfortable conversations and supercharges the productivity of one's business building efforts. A lesson in sorting. Fortunately, I learned the importance of sorting when I first met Mr. Gould and committed to the audacious goal of making 10,000 in my first month in business. According to Napoleon Hill's formula from Think and Grow Rich, I clearly had the purpose, desire, and determination to succeed. What I lacked was a viable plan to achieve my goal and what Hill called success consciousness. When I met Mr. Gould, I realized he possessed both of these parts that I lacked. After he answered my questions, I became convinced his plan could work for me. And though I was surprised to learn that Mr. Gould had once installed car stereos for a living, it was clear that he had somehow acquired the leadership qualities that reflected an inner success consciousness. When I told Mr. Gould that I was committed to achieving outstanding success in business with his help, his response seemed unimpressed. Many people say they are committed, he told me, but I will know your commitment by seeing how many people you put in front of me that have a genuine interest in improving their financial future. It seemed like a macho dare, and it worked. I hustled. I started talking to everyone. I knew who needed to make some extra money. I must have talked to dozens of people in the first couple of days, but all I could show Mr. Gould for my commitment was one friend who came with me to hear the presentation. Frustrated and embarrassed, I began to entertain doubts that Mr. Gould's program might not work for me. Now, after years of experience in this opportunity industry, I can tell you that most people face initial failure in one or of two ways. Some blame the program, saying, this business doesn't work. Others find fault with themselves, saying, I am no good at this kind of thing. These people stalled out before they got in the car and out the driveway, so they called off their trip. At the critical moment, something in me wouldn't give in to those doubts and fears. Looking back, I can see it was my determination to make a better life for my son and my wife. And it was my simple faith that Mr. Gould had skills and ideas that I lacked, but believed that I could learn. After the first failed attempt to launch my business, I said to Mr. Gould, I can't be doing this right. Can you teach me how to talk to the people to get them to come take a look at this? Mr. Gould said, you really want to succeed at this, don't you? I nodded. Then he said compassionately, I can see that you do, but in order to succeed, you have to learn to get out of your own way. How do I do that? I asked, truly eager to learn. First, you said you want to get people to come take a look at this. Mr. Gould's voice intensified. But you must understand that you can't get people to do anything. You want to find people who already want what you have and point them to where they can get what they want. Look at the people at my meeting, Mr. Gould said. What do you see? There are a handful of people who are consistently bringing 80 to 90% of the visitors. These are the people who are determined to succeed at building a successful business. You will notice there are far more people who show up most weeks without a guest. Undoubtedly, they are getting something from coming regularly to these meetings, social contact, inspiration, a positive environment, but they are definitely not building a business for themselves. If you really want to build a business, a successful business, you have to find people with a serious desire to succeed. People like you. The problem you face is that you will only find maybe two or three out of 100 who have that level of desire. I looked at him. So, how do you find those people? You work quickly and efficiently, he said. You say as little as you can to as many people as you can in order to find who have a burning desire to succeed and are genuinely interested in finding a viable plan to achieve their success. If you get bogged down in conversation with people who really don't have that kind of desire, you will take a very long time to find the ones who do, and you will wear yourself down in the process. Keeping every conversation to an absolute minimum keeps the attention of off of you and on them, he said. All you want to know is if they are genuinely interested in finding an opportunity to make more money. I shook my head, but most of the people want to know what it is. He smiled because they are looking at you and judging the opportunity by you, by their impression of you. People can't help evaluating the message by their sense of the messenger. If you were standing there in a Gucci suit with a Rolex and driving a Mercedes, they might respond differently. People like to think they are open minded, but we all tend to judge a book by its cover. That's just human nature. And we aren't going to change that. So the moment you start answering someone's questions, he automatically starts judging you and your message gets lost. And another thing happens. On some level, perhaps unconsciously, the person says to himself, I don't want to do what this guy is doing. I don't want to bug people about things they couldn't care less about. I get what you're saying, I said, but I don't see how I can get them interested in coming to see you without saying something about what it is. I need you to know exactly, I need to know exactly what to say to them. Remember, you won't get them interested if they are not already interested in finding an opportunity. Mr. Gould put his hand on my shoulder. Let me ask you, Robert, why did you come here to hear about the business opportunity? Was it because you were impressed or persuaded by the person who invited you? No way, I chuckled. I came to meet you because he told me you made 60 grand a month. Mr. Gould raised his eyebrows and smiled at me. Suddenly, everything went pop. He didn't have to teach me what to say word for word. Once I realized that I was sorting, not selling, and I was pointing, not persuading, I was home free. He, he taught me what he called the side door approach. Instead of asking people directly if they were interested in making more money, I would ask people who they knew who might be interested in making more money. They would almost always respond, what is it? To which I would say, why do you ask? Are you interested? When they look, when they would persist to get more information, I would just say, look, you don't want to hear from me about this from me. I'm just an auto mechanic. I'm on workman's comp. If you are truly interested in making more money, you should meet my mentor, Mr. Gould. He makes $60,000 a month. He is the one you should be talking to, and he can answer your questions much better than I can. Finally, I got out of my way. I became the messenger instead of the message. My job became simply piquing interest in people. So those who had a genuine interest would seek more information. It worked amazingly well. It was simple, honest, and direct. I was able to sort rapidly and found in a surprisingly short time several people who were genuinely interested, and Mr. Gould did all the heavy lifting. He made the presentations, answered all the questions, and trained all the new people, asking for help. I developed another helpful practice almost by accident. I knew that I didn't have the Rolex and Gucci shoes and that people can't help but judge us by our appearance, but I discovered that people are willing to help others in need when approached with sincerity. So I started opening my conversations with a question. Would you do me a huge favor? People would usually ask what I needed with a concerned expression that suggested they thought I was going to ask for a loan. When I instead asked them for a referral, who do you know? They were relieved, and some of them helped me find the people I was looking for. When I had that life-changing conversation with Mr. Gould, I was flat broke and running from bill collectors. I had a modest education, and I didn't think I was good at much besides working with tools and and cars. I wasn't a salesperson, and I wasn't well spoken. I certainly couldn't see myself making presentations like Mr. Gould. In fact, I didn't give any presentations until about 18 months later. Mr. Gould helped me to understand that none of the things I saw as my limitations mattered a hill of beans unless I let them matter. I had what truly mattered. I was determined, and I had a purpose and a burning desire to see it fulfilled. Questions for reflection, discussion, and action. Number one, if you find you are really only curious, what would it take for you to become genuinely interested in a new opportunity? Number two, if you have started building a business in the past and stopped before reaching your dream, how did you explain your failure? Was it because the business didn't work or because you didn't have what it took to succeed? Number three, what have you seen as your limitations in terms of building a successful enterprise? Number four, what would you have to do differently in a new venture to be a success? And what would you have to learn?